Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Penn State defensive coordinator search continues on early Friday afternoon, and this has been a search that's taken some twists and turns. 24 hours ago, I think the consensus within the Penn State fan base, I think the consensus with a lot of people who covered this Penn State program, it sounded like it was going to be D'Anton Lynn from USC. And then late Thursday night, D'Anton Lynn signs an extension with USC, kind of scratch his name off the list. Couple other names that are kind of bubbling up to the top. Now, right off the bat, want to make it very clear, I am in no way, shape, or form an insider. Just giving my takes on some of the defensive coordinators I've seen kind of pop up. I'm largely in the same position as many of y'all, just refreshing the message boards, refreshing Twitter multiple times a day. That's where I'm at. And the names that we've seen, I want to go over them right now, but I want to start the conversation with, look, what kind of hire is Penn State looking for here? My answer to that is relatively simple. One, I think Penn State should be swinging a massive sword in terms of this defensive coordinator search. You look at the former Penn State defensive coordinators, only good things happen if you take over the defensive coordinator job at Penn State, right? Brent Pry, head coach at Virginia Tech. Manny Diaz, head coach at Duke. You look at Tom Allen, just got paid over $2 million to go take over the Clemson defense. Good things happen when you join James Franklin on the defensive side of the football at Penn State. And because of that, I think this becomes a very attractive job. Secondly, I'm looking for a defensive coordinator that's, for lack of better terms, been around the block and is kind of a proven commodity. Now, why do I feel that kind of way? Because I look at this Penn State roster in 2025, and I'm a Michigan fan, so it very similar programs where you sometimes look at a Penn State roster, look at a Michigan roster and say, we're going to be very solid, compete in the Big Ten, win 10 games, but probably not national championship caliber. That's not how I'm approaching this football season for Penn State in 2025. Drew coming back, Coach Koldnicki clearly doing good things with the offense. Two running backs are coming back. This is a Penn State team that can win a national championship in 2025. And then you look at the college football landscape across the country, not even just in the Big Ten. Look, Ohio State's replacing a lot of people on both sides of the football after this year. You look at the SEC, Georgia, Alabama, massive question marks surrounding those programs. You're sitting here middle of January looking at Penn State and saying, this could be a year that Penn State can win a national championship in 2025. And because you believe that, I don't know if you want to go grab a defensive coordinator that doesn't have a ton of experience. Like this is a season where you don't have time to kind of learn by the seat of your pants. You gotta have a defensive coordinator that comes in here and kind of knows what they're doing and not learning on the job, so to speak, that first half of the season. That's kind of the way I'm approaching this hire. Now, I want to talk about some names that we've seen before we do, and as always, Penn State fans, we did a candidate talk a couple days ago. The amount of support y'all have shown the fellas has been amazing. A lot of really intriguing names you guys dropped in the comment section as well. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, would love to hear how you guys are feeling in the comment section about the names we're going after or we're going to talk about, because I'm kind of mixed. Let's start with, and I think this might be the most intriguing, Ephraim Banda, the Cleveland Browns safeties coach. Now, doing a little background on him, you obviously love the connection to Manny Diaz. And look, Manny Diaz, there ain't many coaches that have a better feel and better command of coaching defenses than Manny Diaz. And it's very clear that Coach Banda was a guy Manny Diaz really, really liked. And that's kind of number one what I look at and say, hey, that makes me feel good about him. Secondly, this is a guy that has been around the block, both at the college landscape and the NFL landscape, but most notably, he's coming from the NFL. This is an important talking point. Look at all the coaches that have come from the NFL to the collegiate level, taken over defenses and had very, very much success. You look at Michigan, Mike McDonald, Jesse Minter, then Wink Martindale, three guys that came down from the NFL, were very, very good for Michigan's defense. You look at Steve Belichick with the Washington Huskies this year in 2024, did a very good job with the Washington Huskies. Obviously, D'Anton Lynn did a very good job at UCLA, is doing a pretty good job at USC as well. NFL coaches that come down to the defensive side of the football at the collegiate level and take over defenses, they seem to have a lot of success. And it's a small sample size, but the sample size that we do have tells us it's good hire. And then you look at Ben and say, hey, a lot of experience in the state of Florida. He grew up there. He also coached there for a long time at Miami. Penn State has been turning it up recruiting the state of Florida over the last couple of years. This could certainly help on the recruiting trail as well. This one I think would make a lot of sense. Now, the second name that you're seeing a lot of buzz about is just promoting Anthony Poindexter. I'm not saying I hate this idea, because there are some positives to it, right? I mean, you want to keep a good thing going. Like, this Penn State defense has been very, very good the last couple of years. Anthony Poindexter has been within this Penn State defense for the last couple of years. That, to me, makes it an attractive hire. My only question here is the experience, right? And even at UConn, I don't think he was calling the plays. And that's something that is kind of important. You can understand the X's and O's, but when it comes to calling plays on Saturday, that's a little bit different. We saw Clemson's Wes Goodwin, really well-respected defensive guy, start calling the plays for Clemson. It didn't turn out too well. And so I'm not saying Anthony Poindexter is a bad hire. What I am saying is, do we want to look for a name that has a little bit more experience calling the plays and really running the defense from the top? I'm not saying Anthony Poindexter can't be that guy. I'm saying it might be a little bit more of a risk. Last one, probably my favorite, is Bryant Haines. This guy's a stud. Wherever he goes, good defenses follow. It's a long track record of him being a very good coach. We saw him maximize this Indiana defense. Now, the thing that stands out to me the most is, look, how does James Franklin want this Penn State defense to look? Why did he go out and hire a guy like Manny Diaz? We want to control this game within our front seven. You look at Indiana, top 5 rushing defense in the country. They only allowed 4.2 yards per play. That's number 3. They forced turnovers and they sacked the quarterback. That's how James Franklin wants this defense to look, and that's how Penn State recruits. Hey, we got a bunch of studs within the front seven, and we dominate football games with our defense. That seems to be what Bryan Haines wants to do on defense as well, whether it's at Indiana, going back to his time at JMU. Hey, we want to dominate games. We want to sack the quarterback. We want to create turnovers. This one, to me, would make the most sense. Now, he signed an extension with Indiana after the season for Indiana after 2024. That could maybe be something you have to work through. But at the end of the day, for me, I don't think you should be, and I hate to use the word like being cheap, but sparing any expense. Like, if you think Bryan Haines is the guy, go out and get him, because I think this is a Penn State team in 2025 that can really be dangerous. Look, I am very optimistic about this offense going into 2025. Many of y'all know how I feel about Coach K. You got to address the wide receiver spot a little bit. Totally understand that. If you do that, this Penn State offense is going to be just fine. It's going to be very good in 2025. The defense, to me, it's going to be good. It's just how good will it be, I think, is dependent on this hire. You got to get it right. Bryan Haines, to me, would be my favorite addition. We'll see how it plays out. Let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.